Good morning, everyone. If your therapist asked you today, how did this week really go? Would you know what to say? Would you be proud of what you're saying? And not just what tasks you finished either, but what tasks or responsibilities gave you energy? Which ones quietly drained you? And what made your best mornings possible? Today is not another lesson to master. We have been working through concepts from the Atomic Habits series for the past couple episodes. But today is simply a chance to notice what our real lives have been teaching us. This week was data, also, not a verdict. So we can discuss our strengths, our wins, and our opportunities to continue improving and continue being better and better every single day. We talked about in the beginning of this series that our goal is simply to be 1% better every single day, because by the end of a year, then we'll be 37 times better. So as long as you're doing one thing that is a little bit better, a little bit of progress than the day before, you're still on the right path. You can be proud of yourself. If this reset helps you pause and be honest with yourself, then I would really love for you to join us in the chat. Let me know that you're here and let me know what goals you're working on. I loved so much that at the beginning of our series and yesterday, I was receiving a lot of direct messages with people, even my family. It was wonderful, writing out their own daily routine or their habit stacking and actually working on these processes and realizing what a big difference a daily routine could make, even for me personally. So if you're new here, my name is Melon and I am with Vitality Social Network. I have been hosting a morning series on productivity and how to start our day with intention. And the reason for this is because, I've read a lot of books like this, and I really believe in a lot of the concepts on why it's so important to have good habits and good routines. But I haven't fully successfully integrated all of these habits into my daily life. So, one example is that last week, my therapist and I actually sat down and wrote out our own daily routine. So, exactly what we would do every single morning, and then I would have, whatever productive work I did during the day, and then my evening routine as well. So, as I go along with considering these concepts, I'm going to reflect on my personal experience as well the past week. So, feel free to share yours as we go along. And if this content is helping you, if you enjoy it, if you want me to keep making more videos like this and showing up every Monday, Wednesday, Friday around 8:30 Eastern time, then please like the video or share it with somebody that you think would also benefit from this information, or just enjoy being part of the community with us. And that shows me that it's a vote for you like what I'm doing and that it's helping you. So any likes are appreciated. Any shares, comments, engagement, views are all appreciated. Even the silent viewers, thank you for being here. I'm really happy to have you. So let's go ahead and jump in today. So first, we're going to talk through 4 lenses that we can use to reflect on how our week went. So I don't have my whiteboard today. I do have a piece of paper, which happened to say never, and I liked this because it was already, I'm trying to be more positive thinking as well, so it works for that too. So I'm going to just draw my little chart here. So you can kind of make a square and then make 4 boxes in your square. So a lot of people follow along with their own piece of paper and they're trying to work on the concepts we're talking about. So now you have your 4 squares, and we're going to start with our highlights. Okay. So this is where you're asking yourself things like, what are you genuinely proud of? When did you feel most like yourself? What activities became easier than it used to be? So for me personally, one thing that I'm working on is waking up at a consistent early time every single day, regardless of if I actually have to be somewhere physically at an early time or if I'm just, trying to have a productive day. I'm also trying to set this 8:30 live stream 3 days a week as another accountability point to ensure that I get up on time. But I've also planned a little bit of a morning routine that should happen before this because I tend to just wake up, throw my clothes on, if that, and run right to work or get started on my activities. And so I am genuinely proud of the fact that I have been waking up early every single day. There was not a single day this week that, I slept into 11 or something like that, not even on the weekend. I had a really productive week, and I think that I also enjoyed being able to do what I love. So getting up earlier made me have more time in the day. I tend to also be kind of a night owl, so I still have my evening the same exact way I had before. But, oh, hi. Hi, Ruby. Thanks for joining. Did you miss anything? So, really, what we're doing this week is, or today, for today's episode, is reflecting on everything that we have learned from our Atomic Habits series on how to create a productive routine or how to create new habits. And so, we're just really thinking about what worked and what we're still working on. So, we drew a 4 square box, and we're starting with our highlights, and then we have a couple other things that we need to consider too. So we'll just start with that. So right now we're considering, what are you genuinely proud of? What did you do this week that you can think, wow, I was really myself, I was in my element, or I did what I asked myself to do, I showed up for myself. How would you consider how your week actually went? Maybe you could also rate your week on a scale of, I don't know, 1 to 10, right? So for me, I would say I probably did like, I feel like a 7, a good 7, because I woke up early every single day and I tried several of the activities that I planned with my therapist for my morning and my evening routine. And I showed up for myself more consistently with my stream series. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I did do what I intended to do, and I got to really enjoy more of my day from waking up earlier. I got to have more time. So I usually stay up really late. Sometimes I'm a little exhausted in the morning. I don't always sleep well. I'm trying some things for that too. But regardless, I got up at the same time, early morning, every single morning, and stayed awake all day and tried to stay productive. And I realized that that gave me more time to do what I love. And so I really enjoyed that. Now, the next thing to consider, if you want to share your highlights, I would love to celebrate you, but the next thing to consider is your pain points. So we're not actually going to call these like fails. We're not going to get too down on ourselves. This is just a way to honestly reflect on what was getting in the way. What struggle consistently repeated? Where were you asking too much of yourself and wearing yourself thin? So for me, oh, great. Hi, Love is Forever. Played a few games with the kids with the mindset that I could do it for 2 minutes, and I ended up playing a little longer. Oh, that's an amazing one. Yes, I love that you took your 2 minute goal and thought, I'm going to give that undivided attention to my kids for 2 minutes. And by setting that smaller goal, okay, I can achieve that. I can call that a win. I can build the habit more reasonably. It's easier to accomplish, but once you found yourself dedicating that time, you actually went a little bit longer than 2 minutes. Maybe you went half an hour, a whole hour, I don't know. So great job. That's amazing, and really a noble, worthwhile goal to be setting as well. I'm sure your kids really had a lot of fun and appreciated that. So that's a great highlight. And then now for our pain points, I'm going to consider what struggle kept getting in the way. So for me, I did have a win of getting up early. I did have a win of like making a morning beverage, letting my dogs out. I did some of those kind of things. My struggle was that I still did not go to bed at the time that I set for myself. I stayed up consistently later. So I was still pretty tired in the morning, even though I like kind of forced myself to get up and set myself up for success with that. I'd have to work on probably setting myself up for success in the evening, not just like working all through the night or watching TV all through the night or both. Sometimes I have to actually consider how can I set myself up for success so the next day is easier. So definitely my sleep is something that I'm working on and setting myself up for success that way. Ruby, this week was pretty intense. I was sleeping only about two hours a day while trying to finish paperwork, do the work I genuinely enjoy, make time for brainstorming and research. Yeah, that does sound exhausting, but productive. And I feel like I had a similar experience. Now, I can't say I only slept 2 hours. I at least slept a good 6 hours, maybe 8 hours, but I was absolutely exhausted and I was absolutely productive. So I still felt like some of the things I was doing was energy giving because I was, you know, doing what I love or doing what felt good to set my life up for success. So I love that you're rating yourself at 8 out of 10, and not that it couldn't be a 10, but because you are always pushing yourself to do better and you rarely feel completely satisfied with what you've accomplished. I am the same. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So even though I'm not perfect, I'm not, nobody is, I am always evaluating, like, how can I be better? What did I not do good enough? Like, how can I have an easier week where I do more of what I need to do, or I help more people? I'm always considering how I can be more productive, and that's a little bit of a switch that I'm making with doing this series. Is that I'm not just thinking about it. I'm not just ruminating on it or just judging myself. I'm actually trying to put real steps in place and a community that I can celebrate and support along with me doing the same thing, so that I maybe sustain a better routine. And then that way I can both do what I need to do and take care of myself. And that way it's sustainable, because I tend to have this like crazy up and down where, I won't sleep for 2 weeks and I'm just working super hard and going nonstop. And then I have a week where I completely crash and I'm like, I'm sick, don't talk to me, I'm tired, I just need to curl up in bed, I'm going to ignore my phone. And it's not necessarily a super healthy balance. There's probably, you got to give yourself the time to rest and recover when you need it and take care of yourself and your family and your life. But definitely helps to have a little bit of balance so it's sustainable. So those are some of my pain points. Another little one is that my therapist and I talked about home clothes versus outside clothes, and that I need to be intentional to not ever wear the same thing twice, like outside, inside, or from day to day. And I can't say that I honestly nailed that, but I did absolutely 60-70% better than previous week. So there might have been, like, last night I was wearing this shirt, I woke up this morning, like, barely dragged myself out of bed, and now I'm here. And I did not have time to change into different clothes. Will I before I leave the house? Yes. So there's a little bit of a win, a little bit of an opportunity, and that's okay. We're just trying to be a little bit better at a time and continue, like you said, like recognizing what we can do better. Okay, so next concept that we really want to consider is our energy givers. So this is a little bit different than, so that's your third box. This is a little bit different than your highlights, but you're thinking about what helped you feel awake, what helped you feel calm or capable. Maybe you could think about what people, places, or choices actually supported you in making your life easier, and what made a good morning more likely. So I'll say completely honestly, doing these live streams is an energy giver for me. Even though it's a little bit hard for me to get up early since I'm a night owl and show up for them, it absolutely thrills me, inspires me, excites me when I have people join or comment and tell me about their journeys and share what they're working on, whether it's in the chat or in the comments on the replay or to me directly in the Discord that we have. It means an absolute ton to me to have this community around me and someone to show up for besides just myself. So this is absolutely an energy giver, and even though sometimes I have to drag myself out of bed. I am always excited when I get here. I love what I do. I love the opportunity to do this. I love all of you for showing up for me. So thank you for that. And also, if you have been watching along with this series and you've been watching this long, if you're not part of our Discord, we would absolutely love to have you there. Sometimes I get DMs there from people that are a little bit more shy and don't necessarily want to, comment where everybody else can see, but they are struggling, they are working on something, or they're proud of something and they just want to let me know. So if that applies to you, feel free to join our community. The link is in the description here. And I would love to know what gave you energy this week? What kept you going? What made it possible for you to get through the week even when you maybe had a hard day or maybe even a hard week, right? What actually helped you make every day a little bit better? Now, we talked about energy givers. So now we're going to talk about energy drainers. So this is something that left you depleted or scattered. Maybe when did the doom scrolling or the stress or indecision take over? What maybe looked productive but did not actually help you? That's a good question too. And so thinking about that for me, I would say I had a day where I worked my full-time job from 9:30 to 7:30, and I also worked on my business, and I also was helping employees that were working at other locations of the job that I have. I was taking those calls. I was trying to manage something personally challenging that I have going on at the same time. So I was, on the surface, I'm like, I'm handling 5 things at once. This is amazing. Like, look at me checking off all of my tasks and multitasking and handling so many things. And to be honest with you, I still had a really productive day. I did all the things I needed. I had great metric results at my job. I was doing well. But there was a moment that stood out to me where a coworker came up and was like, um, what's going on with you today, Melanie? Because every time I walk up to the front desk where you work, it's like stuff everywhere, like a bomb went off. You've got like your cup and your paper towels and your paper scattered everywhere and your computer and your bag in the floor that I tripped over. And, I'm like, I tried to come up here and quietly help you tidy one time. And then I came back later and it was the same. It just like happened again, basically. And I was like, I know, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to kill you by tripping over my bag on the floor. I'm just like all over the place. And, I'm dealing with a lot today. I'm trying to handle it all at once. So when I'm in that type of frame of mind where my brain is really scattered or doing too much, then I'm not really thinking about what's right in front of me. I'm just barely trying to survive with my stuff, my environment. I'm focusing on my tasks and continuing to move forward. And that stood out, it was a moment of reflection and realizing that, wow, at the end of this day, I'm exhausted. I pretty much, got home, ate some food, went right to bed, and then woke up just in time to do this. So I didn't wake up with a lot of energy. I didn't set myself up for success. And while I felt like I was doing a great job, I was potentially impacting the people around me with my whirlwind and my chaos because I wasn't able to maintain a positive environment that they could also thrive in. So that happens, that happened at work. It doesn't always, but that did. And that happens at my home sometimes too, where I don't always like put my stuff down in the right place or clean up after myself appropriately because I'm trying to handle too many things at once and I'm a little bit stressed out and scatterbrained. And so that was a moment for me to realize it was an energy drainer for me to try to do 5 things at once instead of 2 things really well, and then also taking care of myself and being able to take deep breaths and recenter and do what I need to do. And I was really thankful that my supervisor, who's also around my age, called me. We're friends as well. We're friendly, and she called me after work. And, she had a couple moments of being like, Melanie, I need you to get out of there early tonight. Like, as long as, you're not leaving it like a bomb went off, you can leave some of your paperwork to do the next day. You can leave that behind you and take care of it tomorrow. It's okay. I know you're always going to stay really late to do what you need to do, but I need you to, like, stop physically because I was on the phone with her and I was, like, running around, and she's like, take a breath, stop yourself, take a breath, and then pat yourself on the back and realizing that you are doing the most that you can, and you don't need to feel bad about what you didn't get done because you did all that you could handle. And if you had done any more than you could handle, you would probably burn out and, throw your hands up in the air and never come back to work or something. Like you still have to take care of yourself and have that balance. So recognize what you did really well, and recognize the opportunities as well to have a habit or a routine that really sets you up for a long-term success. And as long as you're doing a little bit better each time, that's still a win. So when you do this kind of habit reflection or habit audit, it's not necessarily asking, was I good enough? Did I accomplish 100% of what I set out to do? But it's just reflecting on what conditions helped me, what conditions made everything harder, what worked well in my routine, what do I need to change in order to set myself up for success. And that definitely brings me into my next point, which is that we have been doing a morning reset series. We've been talking about how you can start your day thinking a little bit more intentionally, planning your routines, planning your habits. And the hidden beginning of your morning is actually starting at night. You have to think about your evening choices. So we keep trying to fix the person that wakes up in the morning, but the morning you is often living with the choices, the energy, the environment that the night you left behind. So you're thinking, I'm going to wake up early in the morning, but you don't have the energy. Your body is under-rested, it's overstimulated, it's carrying yesterday's stress, so it's hard to drag yourself out of bed. You might also experience decision fatigue. So if the night before you left all your dishes in the sink, and you didn't set up your clothes for the next day, or leave your medicine on the counter beside your toothbrush, or whatever it was that you were trying to do to set yourself up for success, maybe it was trying to drink more water, so you put your water beside the bed, all of those little decisions as part of your evening routine. You skip all that, and so when you wake up in the morning, like, every single choice that you have to make overwhelms your brain before you even get out the door. So every choice that you settle on overnight really helps make the morning a little bit less of a negotiation, a little bit less of a process that you have to spend a lot of thought and energy on deciding what you wear or what you eat or what the first task is or when you stop scrolling before you get up or anything like that. So absolutely helps make a difference, and we are going to talk a little bit in a moment about how you can do a tiny evening reset so that you can set yourself up for success. I wonder if this is something that I would like to know. Are you more of a morning person or an evening person? What do you do well naturally? What do you feel like you could do a little bit better? Like, what's your opportunity? Is it in the morning or is it in the evening? Can you see that there's a little bit of a connection for both, and how making those helpful choices at night make the morning a little bit less draining or chaotic and a little bit more automatic? So I'm thinking about, what did one of your better evenings look like this week, and then what happened the next morning? And the biggest thing that I can think of is that the night when I remembered I was making a switch in my medicine to take it at night to help me sleep, and then I was also intentionally stopping any type of work or TV or like dopamine giving activities that are really stimulating, and I was giving myself time to decompress and relax before I went to sleep as well. And that was the first time in years, probably, that I actually slept a solid, I'll say, 5 hours before I had a moment of waking up, because my brain was on such high alert. I wake up like at least 6 times a night, every single night. And so that was the first night in a long time that I got a solid stretch of sleep. And I actually woke up feeling like I had energy, feeling like it was going to be easier to begin my day. So that was something that I realized was a huge win, and that's a habit that I then need to repeat because it worked, and I can recognize that. And then if I think about, what one of my harder evenings looked like, it was probably because I had a whole chaotic day. So I didn't really stick to the routine, and my brain was on high alert till the moment I went to bed, so I didn't get effective sleep. And so I would like to know which one of these concepts feel most true for you right now. Like, is it that are you focused on the activities that give you energy? Are you focused on setting up your environment for success? Doing little things that give you dopamine? What are you working on? Let me know. But it is important to think that, the night you doesn't also have to control the morning you, but she can leave herself a little bit of gifts, make the morning a little bit easier. You can still, even if you had a bad night, you can still wake up in the morning and reset and have a good day. But I do want to help you if you're working on coming up with an evening routine. Let's talk about what that looks like. Loves Forever said, I'm a morning person, but if my clothes are out for the next day, it makes a big difference in how long it takes me to get ready. I turn into a grumpy troll when I get tired. Yes, exactly. I completely understand that. And that's something that I keep thinking, oh, I should probably do. I should really probably do that so that I don't have to have decision fatigue in the morning when I have to look through all my clothes. But I'm a little bit behind on, like, my laundry. I actually have a whole tub of laundry that's been done, but it's in the back of my car. And, I'm like, I'm not going out there to get it. And I don't know, it's like it adds to the stress, like another 10 minutes, just me deciding what I'm trying to wear. So the more that I can set myself up for success the night before, I can see how that would absolutely make my morning a little bit less chaotic. So that's definitely a good one. So that's an exact example of what I'm going to try to consider when it comes to how I can make just two, not 10, two tiny decisions that can realistically bridge my night self from my morning self. So I would love to hear, how you're going to make tomorrow easier by doing something different tonight. The question is, tonight I'm going to make tomorrow easier by what? So for me, I'm going to lay my clothes out. I think that's one easy thing that I can commit to. And then maybe my second one will be what I said about taking my medicine and having that decompression time. Maybe that's three things. But either way, those are things that I realized I liked, I've already done. So it's a matter of just keeping that routine consistently and then adding on. Maybe now that I know, I can habit stack. I can say, okay, I'm going to take my medicine, and then that's my cue to take the next action of setting myself up for success, which is finding my clothes and setting them out for the night. I think that's a reasonable thing I can pair. What am I doing really well that's starting to happen automatically that I like, that is working? How can I add one thing to it that I don't necessarily always do or like and isn't working, and pair them together so it's a little bit easier for my brain to remember that that is going to be an important step to help me too. I'm trying to do things that make my life easier. So can do the one that's natural and add on picking out tomorrow's clothes. And you can also do things like, choose what your first meaningful action is going to be. So you don't wake up with, a blank decision board of trying to think about the first step that you're going to make, and then you immediately start doom scrolling. So you can plan out what is the first thing that you're going to do right when you wake up. Is it going to journal? Are you going to drink water? Are you going to go brush your teeth or go get a beverage that makes you feel good about yourself? You can decide that. You can also think about, like we talked about, having that boundary or like lowering the volume where you create a little bit of a buffer from the high stimulating activities of work or conflict or family or scrolling or TV or whatever it is, and set yourself like a realistic lights out time or target where your phone stops being in charge or the chaotic outside world stops being in charge, and you can take a moment to reflect and reset and unwind. And I will promise you that will make it a little bit easier to get quality sleep, which is important. Because if you sleep 10 hours and still don't feel rested, did that really help you, or did that just take up a bunch of extra time? That's what I'm trying to ask myself a little bit, to be honest. So again, the goal is, now that we've been talking a lot about a morning routine or a daily routine or a habit stacking, reflect a little bit on two things that you can do at night in order to set yourself up for success in the morning and make that clear connection on how you can make your day a little bit easier. And then one more thing is just to consider, since this is kind of our weekly check-in, our weekly reset, we're trying to turn vague, like, oh my God, I had a tough week, I had a crazy week, into a few honest, useful observations. So for me, I am going to have a meeting with my therapist next week where I have to actually reflect on this stuff. So I'm trying to do it a little bit in advance, but maybe it is just a matter of you're asking yourself. And sometimes when you know you had a hard week, but someone asks you, well, what happened? Your whole brain goes blank. You're like, where do I even begin? What is one clear thing I can even pull out and tell them? So let's give ourselves a few sentences that we actually can reflect on or take into therapy or journal about or, consider for next week's planning, whatever it is that's going to be effective for your life. So we can start with an easy one, which is, this week I'm proud that, what? What are you proud of? For me, I would say this week I'm proud that I woke up early every single day. That was absolutely a win. And then my mind, I can't help it. It immediately goes through all the things that I did wrong. It's like, I don't know if it's a good thing because I'm in operations or if it's we're going to say it's a good thing, but sometimes I have to know when to turn that off a little bit. I'm just starting with what I'm proud of. And then the next question is, I noticed that I function better when what? Or I feel or I function better. I love to hear from you what you're proud of or what helped you function better. So I absolutely function better when, I think, two things. So what I mentioned about my nightly routine and taking my medicine and winding down. But then another one was I was committed to, every time I get up, I was selecting a morning drink. So whether that was tea or coffee, or I got a drink from Starbucks, or I drank a vitamin water or something, I was trying to begin my day with something that I felt was energy giving and that I could feel good about for the most part, nourishing my body, or even just knowing, I don't always love waking up, so I'm going to have caffeine, and then hopefully that will help me get through the day, and it's a little bit of a mental game. So I definitely notice that I function better when I do both of those things consistently. Okay, so those are some of our wins. If you have wins, would love to hear yours, what you're proud of. And then we can go into not necessarily what we didn't do well, but the hardest repeating pattern. So when you think of hardest, it could be your repeating pattern was something that caused challenges for you that you do naturally, or it could be the hardest pattern to repeat consistently. So for me, I would say I did set a goal with my therapist of, like, right when I get home, I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to immediately get into the shower. And I cannot say that that is the order that it happened every single day. And that's okay. If I find that, I need time to decompress before I have to talk myself up into, like, getting wet and standing longer and having to dry myself off. Like, it's like weird little quirks, but I just don't like all of that part of taking a shower. So if that's not the time that it works for me to do it, it's just too difficult for me to get myself to do it, then maybe there's another time that would work better. Maybe it's actually is now that I'm getting up early, when I'm awake early in the morning, that's how I can start my day while reflecting. Or when I at least give myself a little bit of time to decompress, then I can do it. I don't know. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to see what she thinks because I have such a busy day that, like, showering every single day isn't always going to happen for me. And so I need to figure out what time in my day would make the most sense in order to do that. So it's okay to recognize the things that you struggle with and the things that, don't happen exactly the way that you wish that they would. That's okay. And then, when you think about those things, you want to consider what is helping you, even a little. And for me, it's absolutely my community. And my community is, a Discord team, and it's the people that join this. It's my family. Absolutely. They mean the world to me. My partner, my spouse, my friends, my coworkers. Like for me, it's all about my people. And the more that they're aware of what I'm struggling with, they're aware of my goals and what I'm working on and what I need, and we can celebrate each other. That gives me life. It gives me energy. It makes every day feel worth it and worth continuing to try to be a little bit better every single day for the people that I love. So I would love to hear what helped you. Is it having a routine? Is it having somebody on your side? What is it, just one decision that you made that, like setting out your clothes, that made your day a little bit easier? And then the last thing that you can ask yourself when you're reflecting or journaling is, next week I'm experimenting with what? What am I going to try? How am I going to continue the process of being 1% better every single day? Or, switching something in my process to make it a little bit more automated, a little bit better for my overall life. To be honest with you, I'm so exhausted, I don't have an answer to that one. And that's okay. We're just starting with the reflection on this week, and then I'll figure out next week when we get there, because I'm going to continue doing this Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to start a little bit of a new series on Monday. So we have been going through the Atomic Habits book one by one, like all of the key concepts from that book that we can learn. And it's absolutely a great idea to pause and think about, what you want to carry forward from that information, what you want to leave behind, celebrate your progress. And then we're going to start a fresh chapter where we're going a little bit beyond the habits into the bigger forces that shape our daily lives. So some of the things that we've talked about already, like energy, focus, decision fatigue, dopamine, systems that help you function. So we're going to keep the conversation moving forward on how we can have a productive morning and how we can set ourselves up for success. But we're just moving beyond the Atomic Habits chapter. And remember, you don't need to rebuild your whole life just today or just this weekend. We're just noticing what this week taught us, and we're going to think about leaving tomorrow's version of ourselves one small gift. Maybe we're thinking about 2 things that we can do to set ourselves up for success as part of our nightly routine. And then we're going to meet back here next week on Monday. So if you have any questions now, I would be happy to address that with you. You can either put it in the chat or the replay comments, or you can message me directly and we can work this out, figure out what's working for you or what you're trying to improve. And either way, I just want you to have a great weekend. Pat yourself on the back for all of your wins, all of the good things that you want to take forward. Don't stress too much about what it is that you're leaving behind. Just notice it and let it go. And then we'll come back together on Monday and keep things moving forward so we can become the version of ourselves that we want to become, that naturally achieves all of our dreams. So that's our goal. I appreciate you guys being here. If you made it this far, I'd love to hear a takeaway of what you're going to try today, what you're going to do differently, or what went well this week. What came up as you're listening to this conversation, and reflect on that while we have our closing song, because I made a theme song that I'm really proud of and I love, and I'm going to be here to listen to it with you. But let me go ahead and get that started. So thank you all for being here. I love you so much, and I hope you have an amazing weekend.
Take one deep breath, let good energy in. Feel that spark under your skin. Refresh your mind, rebuild your momentum, reclaim your life. One small win today, then another, then 3. Tiny steps make thunder Take one deep breath.
Literally.
You're still alive, so take back your life. Take one deep breath.
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend. Love you.